Ça aussi, ça doit changer dans la manière de coopérer avec la France et l'Europe. Regardez-nous autrement, en nous respectant, en nous considérant comme de vrais partenaires, et non pas toujours avec un regard paternaliste, avec l'idée de toujours savoir ce qu'il faut pour nous et non pas pour... Voilà.
Si le président Tshisekedi m'y autorise, je voudrais apporter un commentaire au commentaire. Je m'explique. Parce que le président a parlé de la France en répondant à la question. Quand un ou une journaliste française pose une question, ça n'est pas le gouvernement de la France. Et c'est bien comme ça. Mais il ne faut pas tout confondre.
Non,
parce que mais c'est pas une position de la France.
Je faisais allusion.
Parce qu'il n'y a pas, il y en a eu.
Je faisais allusion au propos de Le Drian. Lui, il est officiel français.
Oui, mais
le compromis à l'africaine, c'est Le Drian, c'est pas la journaliste.
C'est exact, mais ce compromis. Mais cette formule, président.
So from that video, I think the message is self-explanatory, and it has been making headlines all over social media, TikTok, Twitter, and from what people are saying is that the president of Congo shut down Macron at a press conference in Kinshasa when the French president tried to deflect from a statement that had been made by the Congolese president. And according to what the Congolese president had said was that France and the West, countries in the West, Europe, and others, they should, they should abandon their imperious attitude towards Africa. They should stop acting like imperialists when it comes to the continent of Africa, and that they should look at us differently by respecting us and by considering us as true partners, and not always with a paternalistic look, with the idea of always knowing what is necessary for us or what is good for us. And that is what he said. And Macron pretended not to hear what he was saying, because after that, journalists understood, they clapped, but he pretended that he didn't hear what he said. So he goes ahead to say, let me explain, let me speak. And he then starts deflecting from that statement. He goes ahead to say that in France, they have freedom of journalism, freedom of speech, and freedom of democracy, in other words. And says that if a journalist makes a personal opinion, it's not the position of the French government. And it's at that point that the Congolese president, shuts him down and says, I'm not referring to a journalist. I am referring to your foreign minister, Le Drian. So that's what he says. He says that he says, I was referring to the statements of the foreign minister, an official of the French government, Le Drian. And I think Le Drian is the former foreign minister from last year, and he had made an article called African Reconciliation. And in that article, he was basically dictating and patronizing African countries, and he was basically saying how we should, the African countries should be subordinate to the West. That is what I remember that article he was saying. So Felix Tshisekedi, the Congolese president, reminds Macron that he was referring to that, and it's at that point that Macron says, yes, right. So here, you see, he pretends to have now understood. Of course, he had understood the initial statement, the earlier statement. He had understood it. He was just trying to deflect from that. So in the same statement, Felix Tshisekedi had also said that Francafrique no longer exists. We must establish a policy of equals. And to those who do not know what Francafrique is a policy that France has been using. It's an international relations, that France has been using in what they call their sphere of influence. Now, when it comes to France, their sphere of influence is their former French colonies. And that's why when Russia comes in with these mercenaries called Wagner to the former French colonies to help them fight insurgents, France complains because they still consider those countries as their own property. Because, a lot of today, the former French colonies still pay colonial tax. You know that. And some few countries have tried to move away. Mali, and I think Burkina Faso at the moment, and Guinea are trying to move away from that. But other countries, they are still paying that colonial tax. Countries like Benin, I saw the president of Benin today in France to pay his tax. Countries like Togo, Ivory Coast, Senegal, a lot of countries are still there. So that is what the Congolese president is saying, that we should be partners, equal partners, not subordinates. And this is the mentality Europeans still have, the French still have, because they still have this mentality that we are still their colonies. And it's the same mentality last month the German foreign minister was tweeting when she said that the foreign minister from Russia, Sergei Lavrov, who was in Africa, in South Africa, Angola, and other countries, was here in Africa, I think, to see animals, something of the sort. So that she was trying to say that, I think this is the tweet, she was just here to talk about, it is not something that was received well, because they saw it as a way of ridiculing this foreign minister coming to Africa, and another way of basically belittling the African continent. So she was trying to insinuate that the only good thing that we can offer anyone from outside Africa is the national parks in Africa, is them coming to Africa to visit our national parks and see wildlife. That is what the tweet was trying to say. So now she was saying, instead of coming to Africa to view wildlife, this foreign minister is coming to tell us the story of Ukraine. So that's what she said. She said that the guy is coming to give us the propaganda of Ukraine instead of going to the national park to see animals. So that's what the tweet meant. In other words, the mentality of these European people is that there's nothing good Africa can offer the rest of the world. We can't have a trade bilateral agreement with anyone. We don't have commerce. We don't have minerals. We don't have internet. We don't have all those things. So apart from, of course, the animals. So that is a bad mentality, and that's how they view us. So that gesture from the Congolese president has captured world attention. You can see it all over the place. It's on Al Jazeera Mubashar. It is on Al Jazeera Arabic. You can see they talked about it. It was on their prime time. As you can see, that part where he's gesturing at the French president was captured well there. It is all over the place, including if you look at some African channels like Tunacheki, one of our friends here. They also talked about it. But this article here on TRT goes deep about that visit and about that statement. So you can go there and you can go over there and watch it and read it, so that you understand everything